can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
And I'm Wes.
And I take obsession to that because there's clearly two podcasts.
There are.
I mean, you say there can only be one, but yeah. But thanks for having me back. You know,
You're welcome.
I know that it's not Saturday morning, but you know,
No, it's not. It's not. But it will be again one day.
I mean, I loved Saturday mornings, but you also know what else I loved?
What?
Monday nights.
That's true. That's true. Monday nights.
Particularly,
it was Meatloaf Mondays, right?
Dude, don't even get me started on my mom's meatloaf. I loved it. Oh my gosh, she put the ketchup on it and baked a little bit of
the ketchup on
and
it.
baked it a little bit, so it came out with the ketchup, and then I put more ketchup on it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So, but when it wasn't Meatloaf Mondays, it was the Monday Night Wars, and oh my gosh, there was some good product, but there was some bad product.
I can't believe she cooked it with the ketchup on it, because that's exactly how my mom did, and everyone looks at me like, she put ketchup on it? And I was like, yeah.
I thought everybody put ketchup on meatloaf.
No, everyone looks at me and goes, no. Wait a minute. Mustard.
Mm-hmm. It's like fancy sauce.
I'm intrigued. I want to try it.
It's like Hogan meatloaf, brother. It's going to come crashing down and hurt you.
Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Oh my gosh.
So last week we talked about good pay-per-views with bad main event. This time, there's another suggestion from you, Wes, actually. Pay-per-views that were so bad, they're hilarious.
Oh, man.
And this is another good topic here. I'm opting out here, but that's why we brought you in. We brought in some big guns here to talk about it.
Okay.
And we're going to have you go first because you had two, but you really want to rip into them.
Yes.
And so you will go ahead.
I don't want to run long like a WWF pay-per-view.
Hey, unlike a pay-per-view, we always end on time. All right, so go ahead, Mikey. And these aren't in any order, what's your first one you want to talk about?
Okay, so since this isn't in any order, I'm actually going to go with my second one here because, you know what, and I'm not even really going to talk about any of the matches, I don't think, because for the life of me, I can't quite remember any of the matches. I think I kind of remember the main event. I'll have to look it up and see.
Okay.
But just in my mind's eye, when I think about pay-per-views that are so bad, but I just love them, what always comes to mind is Road Wild from WCW because they're at there in Sturgis. They're at the big Harley Davidson rally.
Yes.
And you'll see like Tony Schiavone and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and they'll have on like these blue jean
biker
vests, the biker jackets.
Cut off at the sleeves.
The very first one, like Schiavone had on this dumbass looking hat, and it's just awful. I get that, bikers can be wrestling
and Bobby
fans.
Was blasted at one of them.
Oh man.
But Eric Bischoff was a biker, which is how that whole thing got
That's
going.
right. And so, but they were outside, and for the life of me, I've for the most part, I've never really liked outside pay-per-views. I guess maybe at that time because it always made me feel like it was more dangerous. They're like super sweaty, trying to do all these grapples. That's neither here nor there. But like these, they were like 3 or 4 of them. I think the first one was like Hog Wild, and then they went into like Road Wild, like 97, 98, 99.
Said you can't say hog.
Yeah. And
really?
They own the trademark.
Wow.
But the one that I chose was the one that had I think it was Jay Leno in the main event, and he ended up winning, and oh my gosh, awful, dumbass shit.
There you go. Yeah.
Why are you chuckling?
Chuckling because you're talking about what's trademarked on hog and what is not.
Right.
Okay.
Well, some hogs are trademarked, and then other hogs are not.
He's just porking around. That's what he's doing.
Waka, waka, waka.
Waka, waka, waka. All right, so go ahead, Wes. Tear apart.
Okay.
Your first one. I'm interested.
I will say
it's rant time.
This is tough to say which one of these two are going to be the worst.
Okay.
But they are both from 1995. And they are both from WCW.
We're going to have a crossover then. Because all of mine are WCW. And one of mine is...
What does that say, first off, that they're all WCW?
The other two that I have are from 95.
Oh, no.
I mean...
Okay, name your first one, and I'll let y'all talk about it back and forth if you got it.
Halloween Havoc 1995.
Yes, Halloween Havoc 95 is one of mine. Go ahead and say it.
Go ahead.
Hogan against the Giant when they bring out a mummy that they call the Yeti, and they put Hogan in a double bear hug, and it looks like the Yeti is having his way with him, brother.
But before that,
so
they had a.
Is he putting his hog to Hogan?
He was indeed.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
He was touching his Frankenberry.
Oh, he was. Yes, that Yeti had a hold of his spaghetti.
Pasta Mania, brother. And you had a monster truck match.
That's 24-inch pythons.
Close. At full mass. You had, after the match with the monster trucks, the giant falls off the building.
Do you remember this?
I don't.
No. I think you're underselling this.
I'm trying to just run through it.
It was a monster truck match, and they were on a roof of a building.
Preposterous.
And it does sound preposterous. And they showed Hogan throw the giant off of the top of a skyscraper, and then they never say anything else about it. And then he shows up to bear hug him with the Yeti.
Like, it totally, it shit cans any level of authenticity. It makes you feel stupid for watching it.
Even wrestling fans who like to stretch their beliefs.
One of the best parts is they give away a motorcycle to this family, and they are all just, it's terrible. I mean, they could be from West Monroe.
They're getting ready to take it to Hog Wild 96.
It's so bad. You have a terrible match with Hogan against the Zodiac, which is Beefcake, which was supposed to be Kamala, but Kamala didn't want to lose on pay-per-view, so they put, of course, Hogan's
best friend
brother in there.
Yeah.
And that's when Beefcake, the Zodiac gimmick, is so dumb. It's like the black and white cookie off Seinfeld. It's just completely stupid. So bad. And, of course, you had DDP and Johnny B. Bad in the opener. And this is when Johnny B. Bad was right before he left. So I don't even think he had his Bad Blaster then. Which
would have been something.
How erotic for Hog Wild as a Bad Blaster. And this is when Dallas he was chewing gum, smoking a cigar, wearing sunglasses, had a vest. He was so just overly gimmicked.
Right.
The only good match of that show.
Oh, they had a good match.
There is a good match.
Okay, hold on. Can you name the good match, Mikey?
Well, I'm looking at the card right now. And probably for me, I would probably say Sting and Flair against Pillman and Anderson, but that's because I'm a big Pillman fan.
And that's when Sting, he was waiting to get the hot tag out because supposedly the Horseman had like sabotaged him. He was wrestling in like his Perry Ellis khakis, and he was just working the crowd into a frenzy, and they're ready to get the tag, and Sting goes to tag him, and Flair punches Sting. Bow, and they turn on Sting again, and the crowd pops.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good.
That was
magic. That was the only thing about this.
Yeah, that was the. But other than that, it is so bad, so terrible.
I'm going to show you. We need to watch. You need to watch just the sumo truck match.
Well,
Luger,
I got to see the Yeti.
Luger and Savage have a match too. Savage works twice on this show, which makes no sense. Luger works twice on this show, which makes no sense. It's so like. If the idea was a monster truck in the Mummy, it's just so stupid. Supposedly, they said it was supposed to be Giant Gonzalez was supposed to be the Yeti in that crazy costume he wore in the WWF.
Like the Elegante?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which would make sense to be Yeti if you're a Sasquatch. Or, I don't know if they're going to just paint him white like they did that Stormtrooper mask or with glitter for the Shockmaster.
Yeah.
Shockmaster.
But it is the best. Just looking at this and you go, that is Hogan's fingerprints all over it, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He just put his thermos all over it, and just everybody had to drink after it.
But it's one of those things that's so bad. Obviously, it's on this list that I would watch it any day, just because it's so bad. It's funny. It's hilarious. You're like, what?
It's not even wrestling at this point.
No,
it's just schlock.
Yes.
On the screen is what you're saying.
It's just silly. It is so like. Like I would be embarrassed if somebody saw me watching that and think, this is dumb.
This is not something you would introduce someone to wrestling.
Yeah, I would be like, man, let's
rather
watch
somebody walking on me watching Girls Gone Wild, regardless of the outcome, than me watching Halloween Havoc 1995.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so you also had on there anything to add?
Halloween? No, I mean, yes. Just that it has to be seen to believe.
Wow. That bad. That's funny. Okay, so I'm assuming you have his other one.
Maybe. I mean.
So go ahead.
Do you want me? I mean, so for me.
You name it, and then he can tell me if it's right.
All right. So for me, and this was actually number
1995, not a good year for wrestling, I'm guessing. Or not a good year for WCW.
For either, really, because WWF was going through their weird transitions, and it was before the NWO
this
hit.
Is when it's Hogan's fingerprints are all over WCW. This is why he switched heel, brother.
Right.
It's not because any other reason. His career was over.
Dead.
So this one is number one for me for one match. And it's the craziest match I've ever seen in my life. And I love it to death. It's so bad and so outrageous and never been done before or afterwards. And it was 100% Eric Bischoff's idea. Because he has said that it was my idea and it sucked and it was the worst idea I've ever had. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I believe him when he say that he made this crap up. And it's WCW Uncensored 95.
Is
that yours or no?
That is it.
Wow.
Because the match in general that I'm speaking of is the I think it's called like the Blacktop match or the Black Road match. It is a
Blacktop Bully.
Yeah, the Blacktop. Well, is that his name?
Yes.
The Blacktop Bully, which was the Repo Man, who was also in Demolition from WWF. But
Barry Darso.
Yeah, Barry Darso. He wrestles Dustin Rhodes in the back of an 18-wheeler while it is going down the road in the back streets of Mississippi. And so this 18-wheeler is actually going probably 35 miles an hour, maybe 45, whatever.
And they spent a lot of money to shoot it because
the helicopter.
Helicopter's
before drones.
Yeah, so a helicopter shot the whole way.
So, well, not the whole way, right? Because they had the helicopter that did shoot the whole way, yes. But what I always giggle at is that little old beat-up truck with the camera crew in the back that would pull up beside it
film next to them on the road.
And they filmed next to them on the road, and you can see it.
Is the camera shaking?
Yes. And they go 13 minutes, which seems like forever. And they go to like these places where like the state troopers have the intersections cut off, and they have to make these turns, and they're going past like churches and trailer parks.
And bad where it gets light to dark because there was a mandate of no blood. They got juice on the match, so they had to pull off the shots and re-edit down but they're trying to sell it as it's live, and it is just pathetic.
So hold on. So they were selling it like it was live.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
It had been pre-recorded.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but you could tell because the edits were so heavy.
If you watch it now, you can you'll see shadows where you're going, what's going on here?
At the time, I don't think people probably ever paid attention because it wasn't the first thing they showed. So they had a match or two or whatever. Then they go to this. And then Heenan, who's my favorite commentator of all time, is just trying his best to like make something out of this. And he's doing nothing but just talking about like all the houses and the trailer parks and really just kind of bad-mouthing Mississippi because he doesn't have anything else to talk about.
They are in Tupelo.
So
why Mississippi?
Well...
Is that
Tupelo
where
is a pretty famous Southern wrestling city from the infamous Tupelo concession stand match in Memphis.
And it's real close to Memphis, which was
okay, all right. I didn't know this.
It was a wrestling.
So it's kind of like a wrestling landmark,
big time. And this was 95, and most of the territories were starting to break up by then, but there were still remnants of it as opposed to today.
Right, there were still holdouts.
Well, Memphis still was running in 95.
You're right,
sure.
yeah. So
yeah,
it made a lot of sense.
So
in that regard.
It was Eric Bischoff's idea?
He says it was his idea, and it's so bad, I believe him. I mean, who else
was he thinking it would be?
entertaining, thinking outside the box.
I mean, like an action movie's entertaining when they fight on a thing, but they edit, they slice, they do cutaways, and they don't fight for 13 minutes.
Mad Max Road Warrior. You know how they would pull up and
fights
and stuff? I think that was kind of where they thought they were going to try to make this work, but that's all I can guess. That's the only thing, like, cinematically I would go, maybe.
But we have gotten drunk and watched that match and laughed so many times. Ask Stepdaddy about it.
Steps a big one.
Oh my God, John Stepp loves this match because it is so ridiculous and so stupid. And the thing about it is, the idea of it is horrible, but, I really feel bad for the performers, I mean, Darsoul's whatever. Obviously, I like Demolition. Repo Man, to me, is a great character, and he always did whatever he could with it, even though it was silly.
He was good at anything he did.
Right.
Darsoul did his best.
Right. And I love Dustin a lot. I've always loved Dustin. I mean, the family is a good working family, but when you watch them in that truck, and you see just how difficult and how hard it is for them to, like, try to pull off things, because to win, you had to climb up on, like, basically the smokestack of it and ring a bell. Like, you didn't pin somebody, you actually had to, like, climb up and ding this bell. And so many times it would be so easy for them to just knock somebody down and then, okay.
Or just throw them off the damn truck.
Yeah, like Hogan would have done to the Giant. If it would have been Hogan versus Giant, and then he would have thrown him right off. Yeah.
And then off the tower. And then got back into a monster truck and ran him over.
But you know how, like, steel cage matches, like, some of them, I mean, when they're done kind of poorly, then the people don't sell it very well that they're trying to climb up, and they get there too early, and people don't time it right. This one,
that's always
we're
been
going to get
terrible.
you in a cage, brother. Well, I'm going to climb out.
Right. This one was even worse because they'll be right there by the bell. It's literally like 2 feet above them, and then they try to have to act like they can't get to it and wait for the other person who's trying to get up, but he can't.
All right, so we got to go to some more of this because
this
card is loaded.
Yes, please.
All right, let's keep going. I mean, we got the time.
There is a great match between the Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat that is basically the Tupelo concession match where they're slipping and sliding, and there's a pile driver on a table that, and like Sherry is out there just doing her Sister Sherry gimmick.
Yeah.
Crazy. It is now that match on this show is excellent.
You would say
Nasty
you would
Boys
agree.
At their
I would
best.
agree because I love me a good old school pile driver. You don't see pile drivers anymore, but the people that could do them and do them safe, just a devastating, effective maneuver. Even still to watch this day and hit it on the table because they used to do that crap all the time back then.
Yeah.
Scrumptious.
So that's great. So let's get to something else that's going to be a turd. Boxer versus wrestler. Johnny B. Bad versus Arn Anderson.
Okay.
Terrible idea. Anytime you have boxer versus wrestler, it's not good. When Piper boxed T at WrestleMania 2, it was terrible. It does not work. Arn Anderson is a legend, and Johnny B. Bad's gimmick is a legend of ridiculousness. But this match is just terrible. Would you like to add to how terrible it is?
No, I mean, I agree with you because nothing really happens. It's just a bunch of flash with Johnny B. Bad. I've always liked Arn Anderson, and he was still, Arn Anderson, even whenever he was 25 years old, looked like he was 50. So the dude always looked old, but
I loved Arn.
Yeah, I did too.
His podcast is sad, but I loved Arn in his prime.
Yeah. What was it? What was that exact move he used to do all the time that he did better than anybody else when they're running to it?
Buster.
Yeah, he just grabs them and then turns around real quick.
Yeah.
That's just one of the best moves.
That's better than the leg drop from Hogan.
Yeah, brother.
No, this is a legit move. That move, and he always.
And then Hogan will stick his foot up there so somebody could run into it.
I'm sitting here looking at this match though, and that one's very similar to that martial arts match. Because with Ming versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, why would Hacksaw Jim Duggan be in a martial arts match?
That is hilarious because Hacksaw's doing like a sumo routine and giving him like the karate boot or whatever. It is preposterous.
It's bad. Because here's the deal, like
that is so off the mark from what Hacksaw.
Yeah,
it's great.
Now I've always loved Duggan because Duggan has never tried to be anything that he wasn't. He knows that he's kind of a silly gimmick. He has fun with everybody.
Yeah,
and I've always just really liked Duggan, and he just has always seemed like a genuinely good dude. Versus who, by all accounts, and if you like listen to podcasts and understand these stories from the past, I don't know if I've heard anyone talk about anybody being more of a badass than Ming.
Nope.
Than Haiku. Like that dude, like they talk about, when you talk about like, okay, because people get asked this all the time, like who really was somebody that was tough behind the scenes, and not just like, they all say, do not mess with Ming. That dude would tear you apart.
Yeah.
So
Ming, Rick Steiner, Harley
right,
Race.
they were the real deal.
The real deal.
If they put their hands on you, you're like, oh, that's a man putting their hands on me.
So it's like you could believe him in a martial arts match because he's going to sell it and has that history.
Well, Ming can throw his foot up above his head. Yeah. Him and Barb both were super.
This is a legit bad dude.
Yeah. Versus Duggan in a martial arts match. I mean, it just was
the sound of even saying this, you feel like dumb.
Mm-hmm. And then no one in the room said anything when this was pitched.
Yeah, but here's the deal,
That's what
though.
we're going to do for the pay-per-view.
This is, to me, and this is just kind of my subjective opinion on it. What happened at that time is kind of what happens with movies and TV shows and things these days. What made 70s and 80s movies, particularly like I love like old slasher movies and different things like that. What made them appealing to me is that these people tried to make the best movie that they could. They weren't trying to be tongue-in-cheek. They didn't really have cliches to go off of. They are the cliches. They are, the jokes. But nowadays, everything is tongue-in-cheek. So even when you make something like that, it's always like,
wink, wink.
Yeah, there's too much wink, wink. I think this is like that too, right? So like take the example that we talked about with Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville. I kind of didn't mind that match because it was sold as being something that was playful.
Was the levity of it.
And it was levity, and it was Knoxville doing what he does, and I've always liked Jackass, and so whatever. But this right here didn't mean to be funny. Like they weren't trying to make this silly.
Yeah.
It had a serious.
Went out there to make it silly, and it added to how preposterous.
Right.
Wow.
Because it wasn't trying to be billed as silly, and a lot of that stuff wasn't at that time. It took itself way too serious.
And it was called uncensored. So you're selling this as like this is a violent.
Yeah, this is
uncensored
can't
by
show
WCW.
this on TV.
Right. So
with
no blood.
This is 95, and guess who was just starting to kind of get big in 95 that was uncensored?
Oh, Jerry Springfield.
Well, who is that?
Is that Rick Springfield's brother?
Yeah. Is he after Jesse's boy?
No, he's the daytime talk show.
Jerry Springer?
Springer, sorry.
No, I'm talking about ECW.
Oh. Okay.
That too. Yeah, they were really starting to just kind of, get a little bit of a foothold.
Put your hands together for Jerry Springfield.
And it made total sense. Let's do something outside the box, but it wasn't.
And that is probably what Eric Bischoff thought ECW was, which is why he's should not be in charge of things like that.
Wow. What else? What are the matches on this card?
Well, I'm going to go straight to the main event. I don't know how much more time we have.
We got plenty of time. Go for
Television time remaining. Hogan, of course, brother, and Savage.
Yeah.
In a triple tier. I think that match with Duggan and Ming is a different uncensored. But anyway.
No, well, the one that I'm looking at here is the one with the King of the Road match.
Okay.
You may be thinking of a different one.
The triple
the
triple tier match against Hogan and Savage against like 9 guys.
That's not on this one. We're talking about two different uncensored. 95 match was the strap match with Vader and Hogan.
All right. Well, I'm thinking of.
You may be like maybe the year right after. Let me see.
Okay.
But that Johnny B. Bad, the boxing match in Arn Anderson was on 96. It was on 95 that we were just looking at. And the Ming Duggan was on 95.
I must be thinking of the 96 then with.
All right. Well, go ahead. Talk about this 96 match then.
So the 96 match main event was a Doomsday Cage match.
That's it. Doomsday Cage.
Because they put the Mega Powers back together. They had Savage.
What I've combined these two turds into one super turd.
Which is fair.
But it's Hogan and Savage against basically the heel locker room.
Wow.
The name of it is the Alliance to End Hulkamania. That was their name.
There you go. The Alliance to End Hulkamania.
It was Flair and Arn were in there, and Arn is wearing like your dad's sweatpants, pajamas look, which doesn't make any sense. Like he's not in his normal gear. It's Ming and Barb are in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think more of the Dungeon and Doom are in there.
Well, Sullivan is in there for sure. Lex Luger. The Ultimate Solution.
Who was Jeep Swenson, I believe.
And then The Gangsta.
Who was Debo from Friday.
Yeah, it was
Zeus.
Okay, yeah.
Zeus. No Holds Barred, brother.
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then outside, you had Jimmy Hart, Miss Elizabeth, and Woman.
I apologize for the 96 mix-up.
That's okay.
No, but I like it. Super Turd just makes a lot of sense. So.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That main event is so bad. It just... I mean, terrible. And they're using, like, frying pans and parts of it, so it's definitely trying to borrow elements of ECW and the Tupelo concession
They're
stand.
trying to be hardcore, but it's looking like
Soft
Tom
core.
and Jerry.
Right.
Correct.
And that would make more sense with it being 96.
Cartoon violence.
Yes.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Wow.
But anyway, that match
I'm going to go watch that match.
is
like what today.
so bad.
The Alliance.
So I guess I did have 3 picks.
Okay, there you
WCW
go.
Uncensored 96
Yeah.
And 95.
and 95.
There you go.
It's just been so long since I've seen that main event. Like, I got to go watch it now.
Were there any other stinkers in the 96? Can you look at that card real
Oh,
quick
yeah.
and
I'm looking
see?
right at the card. Yeah. So, gosh, and it's tough for me to remember. This one has the man versus woman match. It had Colonel Robert Parker versus Medusa. I don't remember much about that match, though, which is probably...
I think Medusa comes off the top and he like rolls her up. I love the Colonel. I love Robert Fuller. His gimmick was so silly. But I really liked him when he managed the Amazing French Canadians because he did his same Colonel gimmick where he sounded like Foghorn Leghorn. But he painted this pencil-thin mustache on and came out in this like French get up. Oh, it was so good.
So we got DDP versus the Booty Man.
Hey-o!
Kimberly's out there for that.
Yeah, the Booty Babe. Yeah, well, hey, you're right about that. Like, anytime Kimberly Page...
Kimberly is the hottest woman ever in pro wrestling.
I mean, okay, all right, this is a different,
That's
different
another
topic.
podcast, but she is by far
I'm not going to disagree with you, but just to throw out, like, in their prime, Sunny.
Kimberly was always in her prime. She was. It didn't matter if she was missing a step as the
Stacey
Nitro girl,
Keebler?
walking out with Dallas, being the booty girl, or whatever else.
No, I mean, I'm not. Yeah.
She was striking.
Kimberly Page. Miss Elizabeth.
And her last name was Bacon.
Did you go hog wild when you saw her?
I did. Yes, I did.
There's another one on this
My
card.
hog
here.
was uncensored. It just needed a single cage, not a triple cage.
You needed that man versus woman match.
I did.
I don't even remember this. A singles match versus the Giant and Loch Ness. Who was Loch Ness?
Loch Ness was what was that?
Oh,
guy's-
Giant Haystacks.
Yes.
Okay, I
Right
remember that.
before he
man.
died of cancer.
Really?
And Giant couldn't choke slam him.
That's right. That's right.
He was too big.
He died in
was
98.
Like, I ain't strong enough to pick this guy up.
Now I remember this match, and this one was good. The tag team Chicago Street Fight match that had Booker T and Sting versus Road Warriors.
It went like 17 minutes. Terrible.
Oh, I thought
The
then I
Road
might
Warriors,
be thinking of something
the
different.
Road-
then.
Watch it. You'll get about 6 minutes in and go, man, they didn't go to the finish.
Oh yeah, maybe I misremembered.
The Road
it then.
Warriors don't need to be in the ring for 17 minutes. Not at that point.
That's funny how you remember this one. You picked it wrong. You got the, but you remember that match. So obviously this is still a solid choice for you.
I mix up those damn main events.
That's fine. No,
with
that's
Hogan
understandable.
against
Yeah.
Vader.
It's understandable back then because
They
a
all
lot of
blend together.
repeat, rinse and repeat. One crap main event after the next. It kind of gets kind of old after a while. So there you go. But now you're thrilled about watching the Alliance to End Hulkamania.
Yes.
We should call this podcast the Alliance Stand Hulkamania.
Or we should start a third, just all wrestling podcast.
The Eliza and Hulkamania, the podcast. There you go.
I mean, yeah, what I know about you, Wes, is that you would spearhead that.
I would, yes. Yes, I would be hog wild about it.
That's great. So next time it's going to be a whole podcast on Kimberly Page. I've never heard you talk about Kimberly Page before, though. So that's a revelation to me.
Well, because when I talk about it, things wake up.
We'll see you next time, folks, on Princes of the Universe.
Same with Flange.